The following program presents principles designed to promote good health. It should not take the place of personal professional care. Viewers should always consult their qualified health practitioner before considering alternative treatment.
We face two challenges, two things that making our lives difficult. It's unknowledge, that means we don't know ourselves, we don't know our structure, our functions, and the basic law of nature. And we face incapacity to control ourselves, to know what to think, to control our thoughts and actions. And we came to understand that there is a basic law of cause and effect, in which cause and effect can never be the same. We face diseases in the body, and we said last night that every disease that in the body comes can never come from the body, because everything must come from outside. By the law, every effect must be caused by something else than where the effect is. So we saw that stress is an effect, anxiety is an effect, and conflicts are an effect of what we think. And we saw yesterday that we must have one thing under control in our life, and that is what we think and do. Because those are the only things that really are ours. To control circumstances, to want to do something that is not possible, is not under our control. But if we try that, we lose control about ourselves, and so that's not very good. So thinking is just our responsibility. And last night I tried to explain that we must have a spirit on the cortex. And I gave evidences for that, and I just go through the summary of the evidences. Without being there a spiritual entity, there is no spiritual, no mind, no consciousness possible. There were no spiritual needs necessary, like we saw righteousness, love, and all this. There would be no sensatory perceptions, feeling, seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, wouldn't be possible if you have no spirit. There are no thoughts or thinking possible. There is no judgment. There is no responsibility, no morality or ethics, no spirituality, and we could not move ourselves. We know that nothing physical can move itself. And since we can move ourselves, someone needs to move us. And that is our spirit that moves us through what we think and what we decide. And the question, of course, is, where does the spirit come from? Can he come from chemistry or matter? And I hope you all agree with me that with our simple reasoning, we can never say that from matter something spiritual can arise. The spiritual and the physical are two separated things. They only work together, but they cannot be the same thing, and the spiritual cannot emerge from the physical. So, having said that, let's see the three life forms that we have on earth. We have on earth plants, we have animals, that is our cat when she was still little and brave. And this is a family from the internet. And so the question is, they have in common all that they are out of chemistry. Everything that is there has chemistry or is composed out of chemistry. And the question is, what plus chemistry what must you add to chemistry to give a plant? What must you add to chemistry to give an animal? And what must you add to chemistry to give a human? They cannot be just chemistry. And so, to chemistry, if there is added life, then we have plants. Can we know the mystery of life? Yes or no? There is no one that knows on earth, from the scientific view, how life exists, how life is there. But evidently we know that plants are alive. But how do we know that they have no spirit? Because some believe they might have a spirit as well. Because they have no spiritual needs. Yes, they cannot walk to satisfy anything. And they never complain because they're not free. Or they must stay in one place. They say, oh, it's very boring, stay just here. Oh, they have no spiritual needs, and they have no ability to move themselves, so they are just plants, and it is added to the plant life. But with the animal, we know the animal must have a spirit because they have spiritual needs that they need and want. And just today we got, my wife is in contact with home all the time, and we have this cat at home. And you see, the cat yesterday just got crazy because she searched probably for my wife the whole house and didn't find her. Why does the cat need my wife? There is every food there. And when we had our dog, we had a big dog for 11 years almost, and that dog, he was bound to my wife, not to me. He didn't know me very well. But my wife, he knew exactly. And when we were gone, he didn't eat. Yes, because he was bound to my wife. But for what purpose? Because he wanted food? No, food was plenty there. You see, animal and humans have their first need is love. And that proves that they must have a spirit, because there is no need in any physical thing for any spiritual thing. And that's very important to grasp. So this poor cat will have to suffer because my wife left. And she has no choice, because she must have a source of love. Now, yes, she can adapt with the time. It might be in 3 weeks when we get home, or 2.5 weeks, that the cat, she will immediately recognize my wife. But she might have a very strange behavior towards her, which even sometimes look like revenge. You know? It is not revenge, but it's an unconscious reaction of something that the cat lacks. And I've done my own studies with animals, and I'm fascinated to see how animals have their first need, love. And the second need is food. And all the other needs, what the animals have. So they must have a spirit because they have spiritual needs. And humans have also a spirit. This spirit has a little bit more needs, more capacities, so it's, you could say, a little bit a more performed spirit, and so we have these 3 forms of life. And actually, when we go from the biblical description, we have 4 forms of life. We have a plant that is a living matter, we have an animal that is a living soul, we have a human that is a living soul, and we have an angel that is a living spirit. And we have, above all, God as the Spirit, that He made those things all together. So, just a little bit to come to make a clear human structure. From how many parts a human is made? Is he out of 3 parts that are independent from each other? Is he having a body that is chemistry plus spirit plus soul? Or is he, like the heathen dualism says, just body chemistry plus a soul in which the spirit is included but is not defined? So usually people believe that humans are made out of 3 entities. And this was the Platonic and Aristotelian image of the human being. and it predominates Christians and the religious world. And it comes from Plato, who believed that a human is a human because he was a god before, and he caught himself in an animal body, and that's why he became a human. And that's why when he dies, then the soul goes away and he's again free. So that's the idea that Plato and Aristotle brought in this earth, and most people, unfortunately, never proved if that is true or not, so they believe it. Then the Stoic and Epicurean image of the human being that predominates science and some religions, that is, the humans and the animals and everything we have on earth is just physical. The spiritual abilities just arise from the physical one. You see, they thought like this. They said, if we put fire in an oven, if you put to burn wood, it gives fire. Yes? And the fire gives heat. And that's how love comes out. Yeah? That's why most people believe that love is an emotion. No? But if love is an emotion, then there is no need for it. Because an emotion is chemistry. An emotion can be given and made with a drug. You can create emotions with chemistry, very nice, with alcohol, with drugs, with all kinds, with chocolate, someone, yeah? You can create emotions by what you give, by hormones. But you can never create love, no matter how much chemistry you would give to that brain. Can never do it. That's why you see the terminology that we use usually for love is emotional. I hate that terminology personally because it is purely a deception. There are no emotional needs in a human being. There are only spiritual and physical needs, only two kinds of needs. But since science believes that human is just a matter of chemistry, it must say that love is an emotion, righteousness is an emotion, anger is an emotion, fear is an emotion. All those are no emotions. They are just spiritual, they are thought processes that give an emotion, that give a physical reaction, but they do not come from the physical. They come outside the physical and go into the physical. Now, science believes it's the opposite, because they took the Epicurean idea that humans can create thoughts, yes, that they can do love by burning carbohydrates. Yes? The more you eat, the more you burn, the better you love. Yes? Are you with me? You understand, sometimes a scientist is a very inventive person. And I love them, and I hope you, like I said the first night, think for yourself. And do not rely on someone else's ideas or words, but study it for yourself. And your own reason should be able to discern two things, and to discern and prove it on your own life. What you really need is something spiritual, not something physical. This is an idea that I cannot go with it, neither the first one. I came across with that which is the only possibility, that body and spirit results in the soul. This is the biblical and the legal image of a human being. There are two entities that give a third. And let's look to it. This is the body, and we know the body starts in the brain. And if the whole body is included in both of the cortexes, then evidently the spirit must not go somewhere through the body. He just needs to be above the cortex and from there give the commands to rule the body. And so I give this example because it's a very simple one. We have a piano. Anyone know what a piano is? A piano is something physical or spiritual? Physical. And he has a brain or a cortex, and those are the keys. Can a piano play its music? No. We need a player for that. So the player and the piano together, if the player is the spirit, the piano is the body, what is the soul? The music is the soul. And the same thing it is in the human and in the animal. So the soul is just a result of two entities that come together and give a new one. Sometimes I say like hydrogen and oxygen give water. Yes, they are the same, the same chemistry, hydrogen, oxygen remains the same, but when they come together, you have water. And the same thing it is with the human being. And I say this because it's an important thing. I came to understand from little analogies how things work. So, if the music is the soul, then what is the soul in the human? It's life. It's all those things that we encounter, we just experience in the soul, in those two entities that work together. Let me ask you, the music the music is a result of two entities, a player and a instrument. Now, where does the tone come from? Yeah, so where come the tones from? From the instrument. That is, when you hear me speak, who speaks? Yeah, it's me speaking, but the Spirit gives the input, but you don't hear the Spirit, you hear my body speaking. So how do you know the piano player can play the piano? On the tones, the piano gets out. And I hope you get this when we come to the disease. We will see that a little bit later. But I want to make a little bit more sure you understand this connection between body and mind. Because it's most important, no one speaks about it because we have only one entity. We always speak about the brain, we speak about the center of the brain where the emotions come from. That's chemistry. They don't come from outside, they are generated there. And so we must be very clear what we speak about when we speak. So how do the cortex or the body and the spirit work together in the soul? So we have our eyes. Now your eyes are located in the body. They are connected to the cortex. Who sees what you see now? I heard that the brain. That's what you were taught. But we said that how much can physical items see something? I hope you agree with me, by all reason that we have, nothing physical can see anything. Our eyes can never see. They are just used to see. Like I said yesterday, our feet can never walk, but they are used to walk. So eyes can never see. So who sees what you see? It's only your spirit that can see. But he needs the eyes that are located in the body to be able to see. Now you have ears. Who hears what I say now? To whom do I talk? To your brain or to your spirit? I hope to your spirit, because your brain is just a mass of anatomy. Yes? So, he cannot hear. Who feels? Who smells? And who tastes? I hope that you know that there is a combination of both. If you cutting down your nerve that leads the smell to your cortex, how much does the spirit smell anymore? Nothing, because he receives no impulse from the nose. But the Spirit itself discerns and says, oh, this is sweet, or this smell good, or this smell bad. There is no capacity in the discernment and then to choose, to say, I will eat more or smell more of this, I will do more or less of this. So let us understand these two entities must work together all the time, and they are very important to discern who does what. Would you agree with me that's important to discern? I think it's very important, at least if you want to know yourself, how you function, you need to know who sees, who hears, and how does that happen to you. Now, these two entities are so bound together that there are choices in the Spirit and there are no choices in the Spirit. We said last night that the Spirit cannot be forced to obey. I hope you remember that. He needs absolute liberty. And when that girl came to me for counseling, the 13 years old girl, and she said, I'm living at home like in a prison, I said to her, do you know that you're free? You can do whatever you want. Can she? In reality, yes. But in her way to think, she cannot. She expects to receive liberty from her parents. I said, you're free to do what you want. No one can force you to obey. So that liberty we have. But since the Spirit is bound to the body, everything that comes around you smell. Do you have a choice for that comes around what you smell? No, the Spirit must smell it. Because he must smell that without a choice so that he can take a decision according to that. Everyone that touches you, the Spirit must feel. Every pain that you gets to the Spirit because he feels the pain so that he can react to it. So whenever your body is weakened, your spirit is weakened as well. That's why we should never forget that we have two entities that we need to take care of. And where always the deception lies is when we are unbalanced. And what I know from medicine until now is that we put our emphasis on the body and want to strengthen the body, and we forget the spirit. We forget that the spiritual needs are first. And then we don't know what the Spirit does to the body as well, how he guides that. So we must be always balanced. We have two entities and we have to feed them both. We have to eat the right food, and we have to think the right thoughts. Yes, there is one higher than the other, but both are important and necessary that we should live accordingly a healthy life. So let's take all the things together, the major differences between the body and the spirit, to see that they can never be one. All functions of the spirit and the body are just possible when they are connected to, so it's just possible in the soul. So the spirit can only act for himself. The body has no action for himself, he obeys commands. The spirit cannot be forced to act, the body can be forced to act. Only the spirit can think, see, hear, feel, taste, smell, and decide. The body has no spiritual capacities. The brain cannot think, not feel, not decide. It is just used to think and to feel, but it is not the entity that feels and decides. The spirit can move the body cannot move himself. Only the spirit can have a relationship with God, humans, and animals. The body has no capacity to have a relationship, and he only can store information, take them, and give them further. So a little conclusion here. What are the responsibilities of our spirit? We have him here. I tried to do a little bit of a graphic, and I took the spirit and the digestive organ, you see that, and the heart, just to make sure we understand the two entities. We have a spirit and we have a body. So what must the spirit do? What are the spirit's responsibility? He governs all processes in the body. Everything that happens in the body is governed by what the input of the spirit through the brain to the whole body is. We know that the whole body is connected to the brain, and there on the cortex, the spirit leads all processes. The nervous system is led by the spirit. I just say a few. The hormonal system is led by the spirit. The immune system is led by the spirit. I have a good saying in my practice. When I started 14 years ago, because I'm a Christian, I prayed, I said, what shall I put as a motto in the waiting room of my practice? And so I got this Bible verse from Solomon that says, a merry heart is good like a medicine, and a broken spirit drieth up the bones. When I put that on my wall, I never knew that that's the conclusion of the whole matter. You see, wisdom is not in many words. Wisdom is in little words. I'm not wise yet. Solomon could say it in one sentence, and he put it straight. A merry heart, we will see when we go through the heart, how the heart functions. That the opposite of happiness or of joy is the cause for our problems. And the brokenness of the spirit dries up the bones. And those who understand what bones means, in the bone there is the immune system made, or the blood and everything, and all that is made in the bones, in the marrow of the bones. And Solomon knew exactly how the human body and mind work together. That's why he concluded that very nicely. When someone gets sick, when someone gets an eruption of a herpes like you see it here with me, then something has happened in his heart. The spirit somehow thought something that brought that immune system into acting against yourself, not necessarily against yourself, but just giving an alarming sign to the spirit that something is wrong, so that the spirit can correct himself in giving the right input. And then the digestive system. Now, you put a lot of, in the medical field, is a lot emphasis on what we eat. And I'm also vegan since 14 years. But the emphasis on food, no matter how healthy food you eat, if you have stress, fear, and conflicts, how much will it help you? Your digestion is not governed by what you eat, but by what you think. And it's a combination, of course. If then you eat that what is not so good, of course, then you will get a double minus, double symptom. But if you have the right food and the right thought, then everything is perfect. Yeah? So never forget, the more important for your digestion is what you think, not what you eat. If you eat in a hurry, better not eat. Because even if it's healthy, the digestion will not work correctly. So we have these two things. And then the blood sugar. You see, we have many patients that have diabetes today, yes? And diabetes is a general disease, and the most patient cannot be adjusted with the blood sugar. And I love diabetes people because I know that there is something that can make their blood sugar very nice. So I had one day a 69-year-old patient, and she got diabetes type 1 when she was 65. And she was having a very modern device, an insulin pump on her belly, and with a monitor where you could read every 20 minutes how the blood sugar level was. And when she showed me that device, I said, wow, tell me, do you see what happens with your blood sugar in the moment you have a spiritual event? Because she can see it. She has in her skin a certain sensors that transmit that every 20 minutes to the device. And so she said, yes. Whenever I hear the grandchildren come to visit, I am getting very happy. What happens with the blood sugar in the next moment? She says, I have 2 arrows that show my blood sugar now is going down, that is going down in the balanced area. And last year I had a patient who has so low the sugar she has to eat all the time because it doesn't get up. And so when she heard my message about joy, balancing the sugar, she said, oh, then I should not have joy. I said, okay, if you have joy, your blood sugar will go up. Because joy will do in your body anything right. It's not because Solomon says it, it's proven. We have patients that you can never give enough insulin or try with medication to balance the blood sugar. But in the moment you do with them psychotherapy or psychoanalysis, they start to balance the sugar. I'll tell you a funny story of a patient who was not mine, but one of my colleagues. She had diabetes type 1, and she had normal sugar rates whenever she measured every day, but the long-term sugar, the HbA1, was always high, about 8.5, and the doctor wondered why. Because during the day, her blood sugar levels were correct. And that was many years so. And now suddenly, after a half a year, her long-term sugar was correct as well, 6.5. And while that was so many years very high, and he never changed any medication, and now it's 6.5, he was wondering how that works. And so he asked what happened to her half a year ago, because since then it works well. And she said, half a year ago, my husband died. Now, that usually turns your sugar up. But what happened? I know you laugh because the story is real and is nice, because she had to take care for him in the night. And when you have to wake up in the night and have to take care for someone, do you like that? Does that rise your sugar level? Yes? And so she had these stresses, she has these high peaks of high sugar because she was having to do something that was a burden for her. So she had to have a broken spirit. And now that she was freed from the burden, what happened? Sugar was normal. So what would be the best treatment for a diabetes person? To have a merry heart would be the solution for blood sugar. Now, of course, if you put someone on a certain diet, you will try to balance that. But it won't solve the problem. And it still goes then somewhere else. That's why joy, the Spirit, if he has joy, he will never make any disbalance in his body. There are people who come to me and say, well, you have to balance your food so that you eat basic food. The sour and basic, acid and alkaline. Yeah, acid and alkaline. And you have to balance that food, And I said, well, if you would just have a little bit a less acid spirit, everything would be fine. Because we hardly think that the Spirit handles everything. You see, your B12, your iron, anything that is disbalanced in the body. Yes, you can have it from a less intake, but none of us have a too small intake. We have a too heavy metabolism for it. It is disbalanced by what the Spirit leads to it. So I think this is so important for us to understand. If you want to fix the issues of men, if you want to fix your levels in your chemistry, you must know that someone reigns chemistry, and it is you, the way you think. That's why Solomon was a perfect doctor. And you know, Paul was also a perfect doctor. The great evangelist, he said, be joyous, how often? So Christians are the most joyous people. They have no diseases. Isn't it? Wouldn't that be nice? But unfortunately, Christians are as sad as all other people as well. Why? Should it make a difference? I mean, they read the Bible all the day. Some of them. And still, they don't get the issue. So if we would know how to live in our mind, if our spiritual needs would be really in order, then in the body we would not bring through our spirit a disbalance of any chemistry that is there. Now, of course, the body cannot feed itself, we said last night, and so the body responds to the input of the Spirit's thought, that is the electricity, and the body responds to the input of the Spirit by what He chooses to give him in chemistry, eating, drinking, inhaling, covering, hurting, and so on. So we know that the Spirit leads also what you eat. So a happy spirit will eat things that are healthy. And a non-happy spirit will just eat things that make him happy. You agree? That's why we are not controlled. But everything that we do with our body is governed by our mind or by our spirit. So I come to the first case so that we should not speak just theoretically. This is my first case in my practice, and I will mention her case in any of my meetings because it was the eye-opening case where I saw the pattern. And since I saw the pattern is identical in every case afterwards. I never found a case that is different. So I heard thousands of life stories, and I took them. But in the end, how many stories did I hear? I heard just one. You know that? It doesn't matter what story anyone tells me, I know the whole story already. Because there is only one story to tell. There is only one problem that humans face, and that is how can he satisfy his spiritual needs? How can love be satisfied to himself? And so this young lady, she was in her 30s, she came to me with severe headaches since 2 weeks. No medication worked that her primary doctor gave her, that the headache should go away. And so he sent her to me as an ENT. So I say, look, if maybe she has something in her sinuses, and we have to see what's going on there. And of course, there was nothing going on in her sinuses. I looked in her nose, there was sunshine. And so I said, what shall I do? And so, since she showed in her face the painful, way of the muscles, they were there. I said, well, maybe she has a tumor. She's young. How shall I know? And for 2 weeks, the pain didn't go away. By nothing they did. So I sent her urgently to go to my colleague who made the CT scan. She came back the same day with the CT scan of her of her head, and anything in the CT scan was fine. So no sinusitis, no brain tumor, no bleeding, nothing that we could show anywhere that she has pain. Now I have a question for you, but don't answer too fast. What is pain? Subjective or objective? Now, who votes? Who is for objective? Who is for objective? One is for objective, two? And the other one for subjective? Yes. So if pain is subjective, I can tell to this lady, young lady, look to these pictures, to this CT scan, they show nothing. So your pain is just imaginary. Can go home, you're fine. Because pain is then subjective. But this is the trick. Everything you feel, you see, you hear, and you smell is never subjective. Because it comes from the body and is a body reaction that goes up to the cortex. No matter if that is an hallucination or not, it still is objective. Because it comes through the body. You know, there are people who have always a bad smell. I mean, they have nothing in their nose, but they smell a very bad thing all the time. Who makes that? Is that subjective or objective? People come and hear a noise in their ear. Is that subjective or objective? So every symptom must be objective. But here is the trick. It is just perceived subjectively. That's why we think it is subjective. Okay? Someone feels it more, someone less, but everything you hear, you feel, you see, you smell, must be objective. So I take every patient serious. I cannot send him home and say, well, look, that's just your imagination. Forget it and the pain is gone. Would it be nice? Would you love me as a doctor? No, because not. Because the patient comes there, he does not know nothing about himself, more or less, and now there is a doctor, he wants to say him, he has no pain. That's not funny, because many patients, they have this feeling in their throat that something sticks there. They say, whenever I swallow, it's like a knot there and it doesn't go back. Some say it's a hair that's there and it moves up and down. Is there any hair growing down in the larynx? No. So I'm looking there, there's no thing. But I know if I say to them there is nothing, they will go out and say, the doctor doesn't believe me. And so what he does, he goes to the next doctor, and the next doctor looks into it, and the same, there's nothing. And so I say what it is. It is a muscle spasm. It is a muscle contraction that they feel, that is real. But the cause is the thought. It's fear. When you have this in your throat, then it's fear. Yeah, it's just a symptom of fear. People come to me and they say, well, but I don't fear anything. This lady told to me. And I said, well, let's help you a little bit to see that you still fear, because she had it for half a year. And exactly half a year before, her husband got sick with a difficult disease. I think it was cancer. So if you're the wife of a husband that got cancer, do you get any fears? Yes or no? Are they sometimes conscious or unconscious? They go on your body, and then they make him to not function well. So we have to take the patient serious. Every symptom is objective. And this lady, her symptoms come from the limbic system, you see that, and they go up to the cortex. And if you would make to this lady a functional MRI, we could see exactly that in her brain there would be, in that area where the spirit feels the pain, we would see a high chemistry metabolism would prove that this lady is in pain. So that is objective. Now, knowing that the pain cannot be imaginary, but is a reaction of the body, we now know by the law we must find the cause. Who does the body the damage that the body gives the feedback that it is not right? And so we have the 4 areas. Has she this headache inherited? Yes or no? No. Did she have an accident? We asked that. Yes, an accident. No accidents, no hurting the head. Because you can have headaches when you hurt your head, yes? Can you? Yes. And then you could poison yourself. Like I had headaches because of what I ate during the flight, during I came here. Terrible headaches. And so you have them. You must know where they come from. So you can have from eating or from things headaches. So you have to check if anything changed. And she said she didn't change anything in the last 2 weeks about her diet or drinking pattern. Anything was correct, or like before. So I came to the point, I must ask her what she thinketh. And there was what she said to me. 2 weeks ago, I found out that my boyfriend betrayed me. So she has this boyfriend for 1 year. She left North Germany, come to the South, left everything, she said, my parents, my job, to come here to live with him, to find out after 1 year that he already betrays me. Do you understand her? Yes. Now, who shall I treat? What shall I do as a doctor? Because we have to treat the cause. The pain that comes to her from her brain to her spirit. To whom does it say that something or someone makes something wrong? Does the pain that she feels say that the friend does something wrong or she does something wrong? Who shall I treat now as a cause? Is the boyfriend the cause for the pain or not? Are you with me? So, shall I get the boyfriend and say, let's talk? Would that be my job as a doctor? No, even though she might like it. Some people come to me, or they don't come anymore to me because they say, when I come to you, you will say, it's my problem. Yes, that's fine. If it's not your problem, you cannot solve anything. If the pain comes from your boyfriend, how can you change anything? So the pain shows that something that she thinks is not correct. You see, have you ever tried to nail a hammer? To put a nail with a hammer somewhere and hit your finger? How often do you do that when you hit once your finger? Do you do it a second time? Why not? Some people might do it the second time, yes. But for sure, the third time, you just put a device there if you don't learn to, to learn to fix to fix the hitting, yeah? And if you cannot learn that, then you take the finger away and put something there, so in case you put it not right, you at least don't hurt your finger. So hurt, when we feel pain, is that a confirmation that things are right or that they are wrong? They're wrong. Pain is necessary just for things when they are not right. When they are right, we have no pain. So the body's alarm system is there with pain to show us that something does not go right. And we found out that something in the spirit of this lady is not going right, produces her pain. And we want to find out why does the information that she hears from her friend make her pain, and how is that process? So, how did she think to her boyfriend before she knew he betrayed her? How was her thoughts about him? Loving thoughts. She said, what a good boy. And she was free in her spirit. Whenever we have free thoughts, we think what we want, they will never damage our body. A free spirit who thinks what he wants and likes will feel how much pain? No pain, because he enjoys what he thinketh. But now, then the electrical current through his decisions would be fine. There would be endorphin released, and that will come back as a good emotion that says, oh, that's good, give him more. And so if the spirit thinks more like that, the body releases those endorphins, make them on the command of the spirit, and everything goes fine. But now she hears the news from the boyfriend. How is this news? Does this news fit to her need or not to her need? Not to her need. So her need is what? Love and to be true to the others. So how is that? Faithful, yes? Loyal. She has a need. Do you have a need for loyalty? Yes. So now her need for loyalty seems to be in danger because she expects from her boyfriend loyalty. Now that she hears he's not loyal to her, she changes the way she thinks toward him. Would you? Yes. And what are her thoughts now? She's disappointed. She's hurt. She has revengeful thoughts. Has she? Everyone who is hurt has revengeful thoughts immediately. You know that? Because almost every evil thing is unrighteousness, if not everything. So she must think, she must get well with it. Now the question is, are these thoughts that she thinks here free thoughts? Is she thinking them with a choice or with no choice? Are there voluntary thoughts or involuntary thoughts? Now, let's see how many think that she has a choice. Okay, that's fine. Who is there that doesn't think he has a choice? Anyone? Yes. Thank you. You know why? When you get angry, do you have a choice? I don't know. I never experienced anger because I had a choice. You see, my herpes came out because I got angry. But I didn't get angry because I had a choice. Do you say, oh, this morning I rise up because I want to be angry? This is my day for anger. Yes or no? Now, I do this so that we understand stress, fear, conflicts, and depressions are no choices. They only become a choice when you see that there are no choices. This lady has no choice to think different. In that moment that she hears her boyfriend has left her, she will think against herself. She will take herself in prison and she will inflict upon her body disease and pain. That comes like a feedback to the spirit to stop it. I tell you a nice story from a Christian lady, because Christians are loving people. So this is a Christian. She's about 70 years old. And I mention this because she opened my eyes a lot when she came to me in my practice. She was married to a husband for 40 years, and they were marriage counselors for 40 years. Like they were together. Until one day, in that church where she went, beneath to her husband, took a seat a 38-year younger woman. So he was 70, she was 32. And somehow, something happened. And the old man takes the young lady. He forgets his marriage counseling, he divorces his wife, and is now happy to have a young lady for himself. Now the question is, who gets sick from all these three people? Who has conflict? Does he has a conflict? The man has a conflict? No, he is happy. He got 6 lotto, so he thinks, now my life starts again. But the lady comes to my practice 4 years later. And she is very happy about it, not? She says, I so love my husband because the poor guy, he really needs a young lady for all the labor he had done this year. Now it's nice to see him happy. Is that the way she thinks? Why not? Wouldn't it be not a nice way? How much diseases would she have accumulated in these 4 years with this kind of thinking? Nothing. But she's very angry. She says, this is my husband. And she takes out the Bible and says, the Bible tells it's my husband. I said, how can you prove that? I say, he got divorced from you. He married this other woman. And he's gone. Be happy. You laugh. But the story gets better. And I think sometimes God is very merciful to us. Because when she got divorced, after 40 years of marriage, they have to separate, make the partial things, the property, but it was not about the property, but they both have pensions, they have retirement paying. And so the retirement paying is split, half and half. And who is the one who gains, who has the higher pension or the lower pension? He who has the lower pension. Lower pension. And so the wife has the higher pension. So now she has to give a part of her pension to her divorced husband. And she says, now, and this is the thing, I pay and I support his happiness. You like the story? I like the story. You know why I like the story? You know what is very funny and so also very tragic in that story? Why do you go 40 years to church that when your husband with 70 goes nuts, whatever happens, you should get unloving to him instead of saying, well, let him go. I still love him. I'm not embarrassed. He doesn't do me any wrong. Should that be what we all have learned in church for 40 years? So that when things happen, you laugh. Because you know exactly. That was the thought that occurred to me when I had this patient. Because she was a Christian. And she was a good, she took her Christianity serious. She knew her Bible. It's a little bit strange that her husband is still her, but she knew the Bible. So, let us understand this. Is this lady a free person or a prisoner? By choice or no choice? Now put yourself in her case. Put yourself in her case. How would you react when your husband just leaves you with a 38-year younger girl after 40 years of marriage, and you would say, well done, my husband, go. You might say, let me see your temperature, my husband, or something else. But would you get angry with him? So when you get angry with him, you're a prisoner by no choice. By no choice. But we have no choice because we have in our spirit an error that brings us the information and twisted it so that we do not judge the information correctly. And by judging the information incorrectly, we inflict on ourselves the disease. Disease must be, and every time you lose control, you must know that something must go wrong. If you get angry upon someone, you must know you're wrong. So what I experienced in my practice, this was what I have seen day by day and see day by day. It's the same story. Something happens. Others do mistakes. Do we have people around us that do mistakes? Yes or no? And you get a headache. Isn't that funny? You get a cancer. You get a herpes or whatever you get. Because others do mistake and you do it because you want to do the good and fail to do it. If we cannot see ourselves that something in us is wrong, the way we judge, then we can never have a choice to change. Because this seminar is made that we should receive a choice, but we first must see that we have none. This is very important. And I can tell you stories about stories. If you would suddenly hear that your husband has betrayed you for 35 years, would you just say, oh, fine for him? Could you then sleep again? Could you then look into his eyes and say, well, poor guy? Could you or could you not? Be sincere to yourself. I could not. Because something in us would make us to not do the right thing. And our body would react because our body needs loving thoughts all the time. He never needs a spirit that is in prison. That's why I'm so happy for those Bible verses where Jesus says, I came to free the captives. You see, a doctor frees the captives. And most of the captives are not even aware that they're captives. But their story tells their captivity of their own error. So let's see where the error is. The error in our spirit is in a place where we don't see him as an error. Now, how can I explain to you you have an error if you don't see it or cannot see it? Is that easy to do? Yes or no? That's why my only power to show that the human being deceives himself is the sickness of his body and the story that he tells me about his relationships and life. There I find the captive spirit and I find a diseased body. And so with the diseased body, I tell him, look, something that you think is right is totally wrong. But what we all think is totally right, how can we know what we think is right? How can we know? Because thinking is subjective, yes? We all can think what we want, can we? So now we need to understand the body needs two items. It needs chemistry and electricity. So the one comes to the stomach, and there we put food, and the other comes to the spirit, who eats love, loyalty, and all these other things. Now we must know that for the body, there are no choices. Are you with me? If you give him poison in your stomach, the body will tell it is poison. If you give him a wrong thing to breathe, the body will tell you it is wrong. Now, the electrical current that comes through the spirit into the body is also fixed for the body. Your body cannot choose any electrical current. If you give him the wrong one, he will be reacting accordingly. So the body can never choose what he gets. But if it is all set what is right and what is not right. That's why I can today measure the right thinking on the body. That's why I can convince my patients on their physical level that what they think is not correct. Or if I would have not their body as dysfunction, I could have no power to explain that it's wrong. Yeah? So, let's see. There are 3 questions. If we answer them correctly, we are fine. We are out of every problem. Who, how, and where? Who is responsible to fulfill the need for my stomach, to put the food into my stomach? Who is it? It's me, yes? 100%. So that's me. Now, how do you do it? You go to eat. And eating is giving food to the body. Can you give to the body something that you don't take before? Now, you know the basic law that we will see again and again is take in order to give. So, take to give is the how. From where does he take the food? From nature. Yes? So that's all our business. Have you ever asked someone, please eat for me? Just do that I might have these nice tastes. You never did that because it would be reasonable? No. Now let's come to the spiritual thing where we see how we reason there. Who is responsible that your spirit has enough love? Enough loyalty, enough righteousness, enough whatever your need is, liberty. Who is responsible that you have your need fulfilled? You or someone else? We say me, yes? How much? 100%. So the wife doesn't play any role. The husband doesn't play any role. He leaves you or not. Your loyalty is never affected. Yes? It's only me, 100%. That's it. It's fantastic. So how shall I do it? The lady just showed us by loving thoughts that we give to others, we make for our body the best electricity. When you ever are in love, someone is in love here, yes? How do you feel when you're in love? Good. Because you take or you give? Because you give. That's why you feel good. So loving thoughts, when you give them towards others, they go directly into your brain and make that right current and that good endorphins, and you feel like very good. Of course, do you have to take those thoughts somewhere? Okay, so it's the same thing. You must take in order to give. The law never changes. The question is just, from where do you take the love? So how many patients or how many people are involved in this feeding issue? Only one, yes? Only one. So if only one is involved, what matters the husband and the wife and the neighbor? If only you are responsible for what you do. You see, this is the truth and the naked truth. And is it a fantastic truth or not? I really like it. I love the law because the law is the truth. It makes us happy. But where is the error that we have not seen as an error. And I ask you now about the error, so be clear. Do you have a need to be loved? Is that the truth, or is that a deception? Now I know how you meant it. If you have a need to be loved, then whose job is it to fill up your spirit with love? If you have a need to be loved, to receive love, then whose job is it to fill up your spirit to have enough love? Whose job? It's someone else's job. It's the act of others. And tell me, where does the act of others ever get to your brain? There's only, if I ask my patient, and if I ask you, can anyone think for you? You will all say no. But if I ask you, do you need to be loved? You say yes, and you answer the same question the opposite way. Because love is an act of thinking. Pure thinking. And if someone else needs to love you, he has to have the capacity to think for you. You see how hard it is to see the difference of truth and the error? The greatest error that we believe is that someone else is responsible for our needs. Not for the creating them, but for the fulfilling them. It's nowhere in nature that any other one is doing it for you. There is no single example that everyone can feed the other one. Everything goes by take in order to give. That is only your action. I saw all people diseased and stressed and feared and in conflict because they want something from others. And they don't want something from others that is just a little thing. They want love, and love means how much? Everything. Love means everything. And if someone needs to love you, you're a poor guy. You're a poor person. Because how many people will really love you? Does your boyfriend love you? You have no idea. Sorry. She says yes. He's not here, so it's fine. I mean, just know it. It doesn't matter if he loves you. I mean, for you. Just for the relationship it matters. But for your needs, only what matters? That I love him. That's all. Do you like it? It's fantastic. But it's not the way our error accepts it. Because we go into relationships. I tell you, this is impossible. There is no law for this action. To be loved, to make someone responsible for what you need and how to fulfill it is absurd and against any reason. Because there is no one example in nature, and there is no hole in our brain or in our head where the love of others could just come in. It's only what you think, what you take in order to give. That's why our relationship, we must know the reason of them. And we'll see there are only two reasons for relationships with humans and with pets. And it's either we love them in order to give, or we love them in order to be loved, that is, to receive. So why did this girlfriend come to her boyfriend? Because she wanted to give him love or wanted to receive love from him? She comes to receive, and that is very great love. everyone goes to receive, so everyone goes to eat the other up. And we call it love. The error leads to the thing, I am dependent for love from the acts and existence of others. Those are the two things. The acts and existence of others are our destiny. If we think they are important for us, then it's a problem. This lady is married, she's in her 40s, and she says, I want to divorce my husband. And I said, why do you want to divorce? I said, well, he uses me. That's a bad thought when you think you're used. Is it a good thought when you think you're used? No, it's a very bad thought. And so she said, he uses me. And I wanted to show her that she uses him as well. And it's not easy so often to bring that mirror to her. And so I said to her, oh, you want to divorce him, okay. And do you want to stay alone then? Oh no, I want to marry again. I said, why do you want to marry again? And she said, well, I need someone to hug me. And to, I said, you want to use someone. You see, that's the way we love. We just go to someone to smile because we want something. But we don't go as free agents to just give and be free. And that's a big error that we have in our heart, and we'll speak about it in the next nights, because this error we must take away from us. Then, when you're 70 and your husband gets whatever, you're fine. You wish him farewell. Say, I wait for you, pray for you. You get your mind back, but I will stay fine because I love you. I never used you. I just was with you to serve together the God, but I didn't need you for me. Wouldn't that be a fantastic way to think? You see, I see in every one of my patients, whenever we see the truth, it is just attractive. The only thing is, the deception is in our subconscious. And even though we know it in the consciousness, we are still not able to do it, because the choice starts in the subconscious, not in the conscious. And so we have to deal with that. We have to understand how we think in our subconscious. And since the error in everyone is the same, our subconscious must be the same in the way it works. And you will be very surprised how beautiful that is, and simple to understand the process of decision and why you do what you do.